Welcome, tennis fans, to the 42nd edition of Changeover Chat, presented by Sportmaster Sports Surfaces. I'm your host, Randy Master. Joining us today from Melbourne is the number 15 player in the world. He is a former Wimbledon finalist. He rose to number 3 in the world in 2016. He is widely known as having one of the biggest serves in all of tennis. I think he can go 145, 150. I'm looking forward to the Australian Open. Please welcome Milos Raonic. Thanks so much, Milos. It's a pleasure, and I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. So everybody in the world, including here in the U.S., we've heard about the quarantine situation down in Melbourne from players watching videos. I saw it on the Today Show. They're hitting balls against curtains. They're running all over the room. They're actually feeding mice. Some players have said, no problem, we're here, we're playing. Others have been a little irked by the conditions. What about you, Milos? How has it been for you down there?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough that I haven't been in one of the hard quarantine situations, but I can sympathize. I think it's about 72 players and much more with coaches and staff that have also been hard quarantined. I can sympathize with them. For me, it hasn't been too bad. Obviously, the first few days were a little rough because we were told at the beginning that initially we should be able to start training on the second or third day, where we had that 5-hour slot of, getting out, spending some time in the gym, spending some time on court, and then heading back and doing the rest of the day in our rooms. And then that got delayed till about day 5. And I think there was a little bit of panic that set in amongst the players initially because they weren't sure what was going to happen. Was that 5 hours going to be honored? There was already a delay of a few days, and you got a Grand Slam coming up, so tensions are pretty high. People feel eager and they feel that there's something big around the corner that they want to be ready for. And then unfortunately, there was a few flights that all the passengers on them had to be put into a hard quarantine. And, it's tough for those guys. It's tough. It's you've trained a lot of weeks before you get here. That's what the off season's used for. It's not like we just sit around during the off season and say, okay, we're off from tennis and then start from fresh from the beginning of the year. No, you train hard. And then obviously being stuck in a room is going to put you back. And one, you feel like you won't be at your best for a Grand Slam. And two, you're neglecting a lot of sacrifice and effort you've made over the last few weeks. And there's also concern about injury and many other things that for sure pop into your head, especially on the men's side, being 3 out of 5 sets.
Yeah. Well, for you, you finished 2020 pretty strong. You had a run at the Western and Southern Open in New York. I think you made it to the finals and lost to Djokovic. And so you finished the year on a good note. How are you, despite everything that has happened, going over to Melbourne, dealing with the quarantine and not being able to play as much tennis and stay sharp? How do you feel right now?
I feel very good. I think for me, I was a lot more nervous about it the first time around when we had the long hiatus due to the outbreak of the pandemic. And then once we sort of learned that we would be able to play a couple events in New York and then have some semblance of a season after that, you weren't sure what you were going to come out of it looking like. You're not used to sort of stopping at that time of the season and then having a condensed and also very big schedule with a lot of Master Series and a lot of Grand Slam. So doing that the first time gave me a lot of peace of mind the second time around. Obviously, Australia normally starts much earlier. This break is longer than what we've been used to. So it gave me sense of calm that it worked out well for me the first time. So I tried to go in with the same approach, obviously over a shorter length of time. And I feel good, I feel like I did a lot of the hard lifting and the hard work before I got here. This part was sort of used to sharpen myself up, have other players to play with, play some sets and that kind of thing. And then also get some rest out of it, being obviously limited as much as we are to a room. And then that way, hopefully allows me to be sharp and also fresh come the first match in the ATP Cup. And then obviously, since it is a back-to-back, most top players will take off the week before Grand Slam. it's going to be important that you can have that energy behind you to hopefully carry you for 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the ATP Cup. Your teammates are Dennis, Peter Polansky, Steven Diaz. You're missing Felix. I think you still have a pretty good team. You guys have a tough draw with Serbia and Germany in your bracket. Obviously, when you think about those two teams, you think about Novak, you think about Sasha. The players at number 2 aren't slouches themselves. How do you see those matches lining up for you guys?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Dennis has a lot of hard work cut out for him. He's going to start off right away on day one against Novak, which is tough enough on its own. But with obviously being away from tennis for a couple of weeks, it could also be an advantage because Novak hasn't played for a while, and these guys, the top guys, are normally protected and can sometimes be surprised early on because of seeding. Whereas here, seeding's pretty much irrelevant. You got to play a top guy right away. So I think it's a great opportunity for Dennis. For me, it's going to be tough as well. I got to play Lajovic on the first day, Struff on the second day. And doubles is going to be incredibly important. I think me and Dennis are going to step out there for Team Canada. And regardless of how the first 2 matches go, if they're split or they go in one way or another, doubles is going to be incredibly important because only one team out of the group gets through. So if everybody somehow finishes 2-1 for some reason, number of sets is going to be incredibly important. Number of games is going to be incredibly important. The best thing you can do is win both your matches on early and then not have to worry about the mathematical calculations. But if with having a tight group, every aspect of each match is going to carry a lot of value, more than you can sort of maybe just foresee in the moment. It could have a lot of value at the end of the group stage.
Yeah, when you play with Dennis, it seems like, I don't know if I've seen you guys play a whole lot together. I'm sure you have in team competitions at some point. Have you played with him outside of team competitions in ATP
We
events?
played one time in Brisbane. We played doubles. I can't remember. Maybe it was 2018.
Yeah.
Was the one time we played, and he's played a lot more doubles than I have over the last few years. He actually plays quite a busy schedule of doubles, I'd say, for one of the top singles guys. Plays quite a bit, and he was playing a lot with Rohan Bopana.
Yeah.
And they did well on numerous occasions. So for him, the doubles is something that he's obviously been exposed to a lot. Something that for me, I've done well over the years on it, but I have to say I definitely haven't played that much of it just because of it can sometimes create scheduling issues and coming back out twice on a day. It hasn't always necessarily been the best thing for my body, but now I've always played the first week of the year. I've played doubles, to get more court time, to get more feeling, to get more competitive, to play more of those important points, to get yourself eased into the match situations quicker. So I think it's going to be important, and we're going to have to be sharp right away from the start.
Yeah, and how it seems like your games complement each other pretty well. I mean, anyone with a serve as big as yours, and you hold a hell of a lot in singles, I'm sure you do over 90% of the time when you get your first serve in. I would think you guys together make a pretty potent team just because you play a different style of game. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it would. And also, Dennis has for a guy that's maybe not one of the taller guys, he has a lot of pop on his serve as well.
Yeah.
And especially the lefty aspect helps him a lot.
Yeah.
So I think for us, we haven't necessarily spoken about it, but there could be 2 ways about it. I think we both put our forehands in the middle, and that sort of takes a lot of options, makes the guys have to play around the sidelines a bit more, gives them a little bit less margin for error.
Yeah.
And I think we have to talk about it quite a bit. I like being up at the net, and I think that he has the ability with his quick arm to really make any shot uncomfortable for his opponent. So obviously, there's so many factors that go into it. There's a lot you have to ask of the other guys when it comes to doubles as well. But I think it should be a pretty positive recipe for us, and hopefully we can make the most of it.
Sure. And then, well, good luck in the ATP Cup.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're thinking about that right now, and then you'll turn your attention to the Australian Open. That's a tournament that you have had success. You've been to the quarterfinals 4 times. I think you've made one semi. Am I right?
Yes. Yep.
Down under. It seems like the courts, the courts are sometimes different each year, but it's a surface that you're obviously comfortable on. Seems like everything's cranking at the right time for you.
It's I think the biggest part about it is the courts. Obviously, hard courts will always be one of the better surfaces for me. Definitely better for me than clay, and obviously, I really enjoy grass as well. But for me, I think the placement of where Australia lands in the year has always been incredibly important, just because it allows me to train for many weeks before without any sense of urgency, where I can really dedicate my time to my tennis, to my fitness, and also to my health. Whereas by the time we've gotten necessarily to the US Open through the summer and all that, there's a lot of tennis behind you, and there's a lot of things you're carrying with you. Obviously, when you sort of feel the urgency of going from one tournament to the next, you don't always have the freedom to take care of your priorities as much as you would, because you want to be back out playing. And I feel like you carry a lot more fatigue with you into the end of the summer. Whereas at the beginning of the year, you're a bit more fresh. You've put in the work. For me, the confidence has always come from the work, not from playing a lot of matches. And I think that's why it has been one of the more beneficial tournaments for me.
Well, let's move on from Australia and the Australian Open. And again, best of luck there. You've got quite
Thank
a busy, quite a busy couple of weeks coming up. I want to talk about the Milos Raonic that a lot of fans, a lot of people in tennis don't know about, and that is the incredibly and deeply caring man that Milos Raonic is. You started in 2012, the Milos Raonic Foundation. Can you talk a little bit about what the impetus was for you starting that foundation, and how did you kind of get your focus where you did? They're foundations by tennis players, athletes all over the world. They all kind of hone in on people that they want to help, or organizations that they want to help, or build schools. Where is
Yeah,
yours?
yeah. For me, I broke through in 2011. I really made my climb up the ranks, especially in the first half of the year. I did extremely well, and then actually ended up getting hurt at Wimbledon in 2011. I ended up slipping, I believe, on court 3 against Gilles Muller, and I ended up having to have hip surgery right after that. So that put me out for a while, and it was the first time since I broke through that I really had time to spend with myself, take in a lot that had happened, how everything around me had changed very quickly, and really see what I wanted to do, what I actually really cared about, and what initiatives I wanted to take a part of. And I think that's when I sat down. I was spending a lot more time with my family. I was home rehabbing, um, and that's when I sat down and I said, "Is this something my parents could help me with?" Starting a foundation, focusing on something that we care about. We focus on kids with prosthetic limbs, and after that, I asked them for their help, because obviously, while I'm traveling around, they can take care of a lot of the little things that need to be taken care of. They can start planning things, and my parents are very capable in that nature. And we focused on a lot of different initiatives over the years. We've done things with Special Olympics in Canada, helping create software so that they can track their athletes, see their progress, create a more cohesive atmosphere for them, like they have for the Olympians as well. Then we also focused on creating a activity center for kids with prosthetic limbs, so that when they are changing, when they are getting older, when they are growing up, having exercises, having somebody there to exercise with them, to create a more natural transition, that they can participate in more day-to-day activities. We've helped them raise funds for research in a low-cost knee for developing countries, most of them focused on places in Africa. We've also created an initiative for kids that are with their prosthetic limb, but also kids that are inactive nowadays, spending a little too much time home, creating activity and social initiatives where they go out and they play together to develop those skills. And my whole focus was my parents did everything they could so I wouldn't have any kind of barriers to do what I wanted to do, to be the best at whatever I wanted to be. And I think that's what we wanted to help those families with, help kids, take away those barriers so that they can, strive for their ambitions, that they can strive for their goals. And we've had some great success with it, something we're going to continue to work with. It's something that I saw really growing with my career, so that one day when I do stop and I have a lot more time and attention to give to it, there's a solid foundation there to work off of and really take it many steps forward and many steps further and explore from there on.
Yeah, well, it's something that a lot of people in tennis respect you for, and all over the world. And it's great work that you're doing, and keep doing it. I want another guy that gives back, and a legend. And he actually just turned 60. Is the great one. That's why I'm wearing this.
Yep.
Wayne Gretzky. You can see the 99.
Yeah, I see that 99. the only number that's retired in all of hockey.
Yeah.
I don't think any other sport has ever done that.
Yeah. No, I mean,
maybe they should do it in basketball for Michael Jordan and others.
Well, maybe that's what you noted. The first thing when we jumped on here is you noticed the New York Rangers.
Yeah, I saw the blue and then I saw the orange. I was hoping there was just blue and white for the Leafs, but it's okay.
Oh, I know you're a Leafs fan. I mean but I wanted to talk about Wayne really because he's had an effect on your life. He's had an effect on all Canadian athletes' lives over the years, and also tennis players. Steve Nash as well. I know Gretzky and Steve Nash are both big tennis fans. How did you meet Wayne, and what's been the relationship between you?
Yeah, Wayne has. I met him actually early on when I broke through. It was through a mutual friend that introduced us, and he has a connection to the tennis world. McEnroe is one of his closer friends, and he's always been a part of it. His wife used to be the girlfriend of Geralaitis. And so there's a connection. The daughter Emma is a very good tennis player.
Yeah.
So I think there's always been a passion that he's had for tennis, and he's always been very kind at giving me the time, and anytime I've had any kind of pressing questions, sort of asking. And also it's been a pleasure just on a casual basis to get the chance to spend time with him. And I know he's really reached out to pretty much all the Canadian tennis players and made that effort, and it just shows what kind of a gentleman and what kind of an ambassador he is for Canada, that he's trying to make that positive effect on Canadian athletes across all sports. Sometimes it's easy to get bogged down in your own sport and be in your own world, but he knows what kind of a great Canadian he is and what kind of a great impact he can have. I know I've seen that he spent time with Dennis, with Bianca, with Vasek as well. So I know all the players have been so grateful for that and have learned a lot from him. And, we're all grateful and appreciative of it. And there's no better ambassador, I think. They call him the great one for a reason.
Sure. And no, you couldn't describe that that relationship with Wayne and Canadian players that, are 10 or 20, or, his contemporaries that he played hockey with in New York. I know Mark Messier, he actually lives in this area. I live in Connecticut, but he's somebody that's always stayed in the spotlight, but for very good reasons, because of what you just described. So, Milos, when we first got on the call, you mentioned my REM banner,
REM poster.
Back here.
Out of
like
all
REM?
the things I saw there, I do. I like all various music, but when people ask me what I like, it's I'm always referencing the latest, the 90s, and everything before that, the 80s earlier on. So I've always liked that kind of music. I don't know, I've never really caught on to the new music nowadays. I have my set playlists that don't get updated very much, that I listen to all the time, and they really it's feel good music for me. And that was the most impressive thing of that whole backdrop I see there. There's tennis, there's hockey,
Yeah.
but the REM poster really did it for me.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I wanted to show you, and then I'll let you go. This is obviously my man cave / office. I was up in Boston a couple of years ago, and somebody at New Balance gave me these. Have you ever seen these?
Oh wow, yes, I have.
Do you
I
have?
have those. They're the 574s. We did a custom pair. I remember early on, you could sort of pick out your colors, and they're actually made in the U.S. And I have a pair. They don't travel with me that much, that specific one, but I always have many of theirs around. But I remember making those, and we did them with a few different variations on what they say on the back. Obviously, I wasn't going to wear ones that say my own name on the back. I thought that would be
Yeah.
maybe a little too bravado, but I think mine had something. One of the shoes for sure said Aces. I can't remember what the other shoe said.
Right. I mean, is it limited edition? Could I get some money for these, or you want to buy them from me,
Um,
or?
would I buy them from you? Possibly, but I think the value is in holding on to them for a while
Yeah.
and seeing where
Yeah.
that gets you.
I am. Yeah, everything in here. I mean, as you can see, I don't throw away anything. So I appreciate you looking around, and you saw the
Yeah.
Rangers, and good luck to you, not only
Thank you
down
very
there
much.
for the rest of the season, and also to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think they've got a damn good team this year. So we'll see what happens.
They've had a good team for a while now. They get there. They're sort of on the cusp, but I hope this is the year they take a big step forward.
Sure. Well, thanks again. Thanks for coming
Thank you.
on, and I'll see you soon.
Take care.
Thanks a lot.